Alright guys, it is time for another episode of Bus Stop Blogs, where each week I give you a recap of what we've been learning at the Iron Yard. This week has been really exciting, very eventful. I have been job searching quite a bit lately. And there have been some leads and a couple of interviews and coding challenges, and it's been pretty fun. On Monday night, I had a coding challenge for a job in Frisco, and it was pretty tough. It was one of the if I'm being honest, it was one of the harder things that I've done as far as programming is concerned. Essentially, I had two large objects filled with data that had nested arrays and nested objects and objects within arrays and arrays within objects. And every single object that was in here had an ID. With the exception of the ID, the two objects filled with all this data were exactly identical. And I had to write a function that proved that they were identical. What's also noteworthy is that not all of the arrays and objects were sorted in the same order. Some of the objects contain dates, and they weren't all in the same format, and the dates weren't in the same format, and then the other thing was that I was not allowed to target the key names of the objects. In other words, they had to remain unknown to the function I was writing, so I couldn't be like, object dot year or something and target a specific key. So all that said, it was pretty challenging. I spent quite a bit of time on it on Monday night. I didn't quite finish on Monday night, and so went to bed after getting a good night's sleep and getting away from the code for a little bit. I woke up Tuesday morning and was able to finish it up in about 15 minutes. So that was cool. I was really proud of that accomplishment, and I also wrote some tests for it so I could document that it works. So it was a great learning experience. I didn't get that job, but even the coding challenge alone taught me a whole lot. I learned, I'd say, about 6 or 7 things about JavaScript that I didn't know prior to taking the coding challenge. So that was awesome. So definitely an invaluable experience and time well spent for sure. So there are a couple of other job leads that I have. One interview that has happened. I'm just waiting to hear back. And then I've got another lead that I'm waiting to hear on. So anyway, it's exciting stuff. One of these jobs in particular sounds right up my alley as far as my interests are concerned, my interest and my strengths. So I really hope that one works out, but we'll see. We'll see. We still have 8 weeks of the course left, or 7 weeks really. So we'll see how it all goes. What we've been learning this week, we started back in, which has been pretty awesome. We've been doing a lot of Node. With Node, we have started doing using a Node package called Mustache. Really, it's called Mustache Express. You use it in conjunction with Express, and it basically, it's a way that allows you to do templating. So if you're familiar with Node, and Express, you can do all this routing in Express, and then you create these files that you route to in your Node application, and you pass data along these routes. And so that data that gets passed in, you access it through this Mustache node package. So it's kind of cool. I have experience using EJS to accomplish this, and I think given the choice between the two, I'm probably going to go with EJS most of the time. Here's the big difference that I found in my like 3 or 4 weeks of experience. So apparently that makes me an expert, right? So with EJS, you can basically write JavaScript in your HTML template that you're making, which I think is really cool. With Mustache, you kind of can't. You know, you can loop through arrays and stuff with a particular way of handling that the node package does. But at least from what I can tell so far, that's about all you can do, is just pass in the data, loop through arrays, do that kind of thing. But I don't know how to, and you can do like if-else statements kind of with Mustache as well. So it's like JavaScript kind of, but the limitations that I've seen so far, it can't do math. So I can't like plug in a number plus a number and expect to get the sum of those two numbers. I can't, at least to my knowledge, I don't know how to loop through an array backwards with Mustache. I don't know how to loop a part of the way through an array and stop. So those are, just having done Mustache for like 2 days, those are the limitations that I see as compared to EJS. But I don't know. I think the biggest argument behind using Mustache is that it basically separates the logic and like the programming and interactivity of JavaScript. It pulls that out of your templating and keeps the templating as just the structure of your page. So I see the benefit. My personal preference though would be to use EJS, where you still get to do templating, but you also get to write some JavaScript. So anyway, in any situation where I get to choose between the two, I'll probably 99% of the time go with EJS. So I'm a huge fan. Yesterday, we started learning form validation, and that was a bit to take in. We were using the node package Express Validator, and I mean it makes sense. You know, everything in there makes sense, but there are a lot of methods specific to Express Validator that you wouldn't know otherwise. You know, a lot of the function names are native to that node package, so it's not something like you have to look everything up if you've never used it before. So lots of looking things up, which I guess is what you always have to do anytime you're using a new node package. But it's pretty cool. With form validation, you can totally customize what the requirements are of a form that's being filled out. And you can also, as a result, customize the error messages that come with it. You know, so if you only set your restrictions of your form inside the HTML, like using that, like the required attribute or something, only doing that will, say for example, if you're filling out a form and you don't put in your name, if you leave the whole form empty and the first input field is for a name, you're gonna get if you try to submit, you're gonna get something that says, please enter your name. And then you're gonna enter your name, try to submit, and then it's just going on to the next one that's required. And it's only gonna give you one at a time. By using this form validation with Express Validator, you have the ability to, at the time that they submit, everything that's missing, you can display it all at once. So that's pretty cool. It makes the user experience better for sure. So, and then one other thing, sorry, got distracted by something. One other thing that form validation does is you can, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought by witnessing something, but it looks like everything's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the last thing, as I am getting close to the iron yard now. I've been revising my portfolio, getting ready for job interviews and things of that nature. So that's been a neat experience. I've been kind of letting my peers and my teachers kind of review my portfolio, and I've been just letting them give their feedback, in particular in reference to user experience. You know, is it easy to get around the site without me having to give any kind of explanation? And so for the most part, the answer is yes. And I've been able to make small little tweaks here and there. I'd say the two biggest revisions or refactoring projects that I'm doing right now. So I'm taking a weather app that I built probably about 4 months ago. I wrote it in jQuery then. A couple days ago, I refactored it to Vanilla.js. And then now I'm working on refactoring it to run in Node, which will get the API key in the back end, so it'll be hidden. And then the other thing is I've got this little like blog site that I built in Node. So I'm working on cleaning that up, getting the styling happening, getting user authentication happening, and then deploying it to Heroku or something. So anyway, see how all that goes. I'm here. You guys have a good week. I'll see you next week.